All right, hello again, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on an overview of economic development strategies. My name is Kevin Clay. I'm the Director for Economic Development here at the National Community Action Partnership. My role is to encourage more community action agencies to take on economic development projects, and today is a webinar that we're holding in conjunction with CalCAPA. And let's go ahead and get started with the program. As you know, we had our annual conference in November, so this is related to that. The idea is we'll be holding this webinar today to give you some overview of community economic development, and then based on what people tell us they find of most interest, we'll then come up with a couple of workshops to go into more detail on in November. So please keep that in mind as you're listening to today's presentation. First of all, what are we talking about when we talk about community economic development? There's a couple of things that really are the essence of it. One is that it's community-oriented, so this is coming from community, it's being done by a community-based organization, in this case, community action agency, and it's economic development, so that you're doing lending or commercial development or an incubator or something that's economic development as opposed to a service like counseling or job training, something like that. It's just a little different type of focus, and it's not as commonly done by community action agencies, although there's certainly a lot of them doing this, but we're trying to get more and hoping that some of you will be interested in doing that. So we're going to show you some examples as we go through today's discussion, and I'll show you some pictures, in fact, towards the end of some of the projects that peers of yours have done around the country. To mention that these are different than traditional social services, you're going to have a little different thought process of what to do and the skills of people hire or your existing staff. How should you consider this? And one is in your community needs assessment. This may come up, or maybe something you're hearing in other ways from the community. We need jobs. We need small businesses. No one else perhaps is doing it in your area, so there's a vacuum that you're wanting to step into. There are resources for this type of that are different than the resources you're probably doing for the social service program. So the places to get money. Community action agencies have the organizational capacity to take this on. Some starting from scratch, like some other group might have to try and do. You can have funds that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. You generate your own revenue stream from your activities, which you would normally do. You have some assets that you can use in doing this. You have a track record of success. People in the community know your organization. You have networks that you've created that have been in place for a long time, in many cases, with a variety of other partners, and they also can be very useful in operating this new kind of a program. So you have something to build on already. One thing about community needs is to look and see if there are other groups doing something similar. Is really a need for this if somebody else is doing it. This is more urban areas, there may already be a group that's doing small business lending. Perhaps you don't want to focus on that. You may want to do the business incubator or some other strategy. Or there may be nobody at all there. So you need to understand what the existing parameters are and what the needs are. Look at why is nobody else doing this? Because something like this was tried in the past and it didn't work out, is it some political opposition? Just make sure you know what the kind of background story is, so that you're not kind of walking into something that you think maybe a need, but there may be a reason why somebody's not doing that. But also maybe somebody doing some part of it, like the business counseling, training, but they're not, for example, doing the lending, or they don't have an incubator. So you may want to put them, you do that part, we're going to do this other part that's lacking, and not to do everything yourself. So what's out there, where your best role would be. There are a lot of different resources out there. It depends a lot on where you're located, locally, what state you're in, and there's national programs that are pretty extensive. There's a list of them here. Some of these are grant programs, some are loans, some are a combination of both, like the SBA microloan program or the USDA rural microloan program. Include both the grant and the lending aspect to that. The Office of Community Services CED program is the biggest. One grants of up to $800,000, but these are also for very sophisticated projects, so this is not something you're going to be starting out with, but my recommendation as you become familiar with these things, what they can be used for, and what they might have. For example, the Community Development Financial Investment Fund wants you to be certified as a C life. You get the big part of their money. Technical assistance part that you can get when you're just getting started and you're applying for this, let's see the status, but after that you need to have that status in hand. So become familiar with these programs at the outset, even though you may not be getting them beginning, so you can be working towards before that. Also look at your organizational capacity. Capacity to manage money, to cut checks for different things, to hand grants, how you are to handling large-sized grants, financial systems, particular areas of expertise that might fit the new endeavor. If not, what areas of expertise that you would need, and identify and hire people to meet those needs. And most likely you're going to need to create a subsidiary organization to protect the parent, the ability of the parent. So you should talk to a lawyer at the outset about create a separate entity, either to run a social enterprise, to make loans, or to do some of the other activities that are involved in doing economic development. It's the money you wouldn't normally get. It's beyond CSBG and Head Start, and even some of the other common programs for the action agencies. The ones I just had on the other slide, like USDA, the USDA program, OCS CED program, are probably things you're not that familiar with. So it offers an opportunity to spread resources more broadly. And if something happens with federal funding, you've got more than just one place or two or three places that they're coming from, and it gives a little more stability. And by generating your own income, to look from earned income with a social enterprise as examples, you have a little more control over the money that's coming into you. And it's not just dependent upon whatever is going on here in Washington, D.C., which can be hard to predict, especially right now. Some of the strategies you can do, we've talked a little bit about loans, enterprises, and incubators. With loans, just smaller size, so the common is up to 50, and then between 50 and 150. Those loans that the banks are not making, it's too small for them, and the amount of time to make those loans is the same it would take to make $1 million, $500,000 loan. So they're really not interested in that. It also often requires a lot of technical assistance and hand-holding with the entrepreneurs who are startups, which they're not interested in either. So there's a whole segment of the entrepreneurial population that's in need of small loans, but there's not many places to go. And recently there's become more online lending that you can get real quickly, but often have high interest rates, and they really don't provide them with any technical assistance. Whereas at the lending that we're talking about, you have a technical assistance component, so you're helping people do business plans and cash flow projections and things like that, which increases their likelihood of success on the road. Enterprises are enterprises that are actually owned by the community action agency and fill a local need of some sort. See some examples of those, but they generate an income to the agency, which can then be used for other things. You can start a new initiative with it. You can funnel that money back into existing programs, social service programs that you're using, make that a little more independent from other grant sources and supplement those. Incubators, which is taking some space, sharing expenses essentially among the incubator tenants, so they don't each have to somebody to be all the time to mail or phone calls or put on trainings for them, and help them get the feet around, get a couple years of experience, and the idea that they move out on their own, and that somebody else would come into the incubator and go over. And commercial development is not done so often, but I mentioned OCS, Community Economic Development Grant Program. Sometimes this is used for that type of thing. We'll talk about one example in a little bit. And then quite a few groups are doing related, and some are related to look at what's the main pillars of the economy locally, try on those, what can be done to add value, increase employment and business opportunities. Now, social enterprise, sometimes they're related to direct activities you're already doing. For example, you have a Head Start program and you have a kitchen for meals for the children. Some action agencies will then use that facility to prepare meals that they then sell to citizens' homes or other institutions nearby. They rent out space as a kitchen incubator, so when they're not using it in the evening, people come in and prepare their own food for their business, and they pay a fee in order to use that space and equipment. And cooking classes. There's all sorts of different things that can be done. So others have trained clients in different skills and then created business that actually could hire them and give them real training. Like one community action agency in New York owns 3 restaurants, and they got into it because they were training people for jobs in the food industry. Others are not related at all. You see on the slide, wind turbines, auto repair place. These are a couple of examples that are being done because of an opportunity that they saw there. So with money doing this, our goal is to make some money to put into other programs, and this was the best opportunity to do it. Therefore, we're going to take this on. We have never done it before, but they figured out how to do it. Wind turbines and one of the examples with the actually make $500,000 a year in profit that they are able to put into other programs. So these can be pretty lucrative depending on what it is you decide that you want to do. Reach commercial development. One that I went to see last summer is in Roanoke, Virginia. It's a supermarket, and the Community Action Agency got a grant from OCS's Community Economic Development Grant Program. They actually made a loan with it. Local in Roanoke area wanted to put a supermarket into what's called a food desert, a low-income area that did not have a supermarket. They couldn't get bank financing that was low enough that made the deal affordable. So the Community Action Agency was able to give them a very low interest loan, and they put the supermarket in, hired local people, but they also moved into a kind of strip mall area where only one other business was left. It was pretty dead. But after they came in, because of all the people that come to buy groceries, businesses started moving in, and now it's mostly full again. So they had a bigger economic impact than just the actual project that they maybe belong to. So by being strategic on where you just focus on, you can have other benefits. You can see also Xerox took over an empty building in Eastern Kentucky, put in a I don't know how to describe it exactly, credit theater building. And they're paying below the average wage level and benefits, and it's been a big economic boom to that area of Appalachian Kentucky, and it's for reusing an old building. So things that are empty and sitting there can be turned into assets, as in this case. They can then bring in an income. So take a look at what you've got, what can be reused as something else, and look for a partner to make that happen. I've got Incubators a little bit before. They're not a big income generator by themselves, but they're part of a strategy for increasing the number of small businesses in your area. If they're working well, they rotate people in and out so that that's at the end there all the time. And the old ones are now out in the community, paying rent, paying more taxes, selling this building, and they had the chance to grow their client base and now can stand on their feet and better chances of staying around for the next 5, 10, however many years than they would otherwise. Eco development is an interesting strategy. I've seen a lot of it in our membership around tourism, and it's taken different forms. One place has a loan program specifically for tourism-related businesses. Another place has a business plan competition. Every year they're looking for particular kinds of businesses, but anybody compete, the winners actually will get some funds towards their business to help them get going. Developing tourism-related facilities. We'll see a couple of pictures of these later on. One is in Virginia, where they partnered with the state to develop a welcome center in the Appalachian part of the state, and also the same group, a part to local live theater, managing tourism facilities. Another example in Oklahoma, a community action agency is actually managing cabins and marina at state parks there in Oklahoma, and they can do it for less money than the state, so they saw that opportunity and took that on. A number of different trails, especially I live in Virginia, and the state has quite a lot of them. Some are advocated for by community groups. So there's a trail in Virginia for music, there's one for oysters, there's one for wine, there's a whole bunch of different things like that. And one of the community action agencies in Arizona worked to get one for Native American crafts, the Flagstaff area close to the Grand Canyon, which they then spun off to the local Chamber of Commerce up there. And this all brings in outside money. With local businesses being involved, they also tend to spend their money more locally, so it recycles the money within your own economy a lot more, as opposed to sending it off to somebody's headquarters out of state. But take a look at what sectors you have there. A couple other examples: lumber, the group in eastern Kentucky where there was a lot of very small lumber mills, none of whom had capacity to do very big jobs, but by forming a co-op among them, collectively they take on bigger jobs, and they each earn more money, able to hire more people. Finn up in Maine, a group up there, there was a kind of fish that nobody was using. There's very plentiful up there, and they would make a deal with fishermen, and they would send a ship over there, and the Maine fishermen would sell to the processing ship, and they would then back to Russia. In West Virginia, they have a bunch of trails through the forest. They're owned by coal companies, lumber companies. They're really being used. People just locally were TVs around there. And when they were looking at what assets do we have, somebody said, we've got this stuff. Why don't we market this to people out of state that want to come ride their all-terrain vehicles around? So they did that, and then it ended up being so popular, quicker they thought that they realized they didn't have enough places for people to eat, for people to stay. You didn't have your own ATV and wanted to rent one, there really wasn't a place to go to. So they had to work to help local people start up these kind of businesses and give them assistance in making it happen. So now you see layoff. Coal industry workers run a bed and breakfast or running HCVs to people. So it's going to vary depending on where you are, but take a look at what you've got going. And what are the challenges? I just kind of gone over what people have done, can do. It's not impression this is something that's real easy, you don't have to give it much thought, it just happens. And think about what are some of the challenges here. I've never done this, I don't have experience or expertise, I don't even know where to start, I don't have money for this right now, I'm kind of stuck with what we do. So let's look at these a little closer. Here's an example with a Head Start kitchen. And training people for the food industry. You may already be partway there, so you don't have to take a big jump and do something that's completely radical out of what your comfort level is. But if you're already doing something and you have some of these assets, just take the next step and try to use some of that for something that'll make you some money. It's that simple. It requires a little bit of change in mentality, but that's the easiest way to get going initially. Talked about some examples, you'll see more in the pictures, but I'm in touch with other community agencies in the country that have done this, and you can talk to them. We actually have up on our website a CED profile book, and look at that. There's an index in the last page that you can look up by different strategies, and hey, I don't care about anything from sexual development or social enterprises, so you can look up under the things and see which groups have done it. It gives you a little profile of what they did, what the impact is done, where they got the money from, and it has contact information so you can follow up with people if you choose to do that. It's important to understand that if you don't have the expertise, you don't have to know everything. You can hire people for some things, consultants, but you're going to be in this a long term, and best to then have some staff who knows how to do this, who can learn. You do have a different mentality. It's no longer social services, so you have to look at it as they make money for profit, and when the profit's being put into other services and you're using it to employ people, you wouldn't succeed. If you make loans and the loans all go bad, then the money's gone and you can't make loans with somebody else, and people are not going to get jobs that otherwise would have got it. So there's a negative aspect. So you do need to be aware of what you're doing and hire people that have the right background and expertise. I don't know where to start. One is just a call here, and I'll have my information on the last slide. Let me go ahead and give you some direction and some thoughts and some resources. And we have some technical assistance and money. We're trying to raise some of that, so we actually could send somebody out, spend time with you, and help you in more time-intensive manner to go through the process. I think we need to take a look at different options, what makes more sense for you, what are the funding sources, what do I need to know knowledge-wise, and then decide which makes sense, and then plan on how to go forward to. Likely to have existing funds to do this, so you have to look at some different places. You can see in the last item there, generally you need to start out locally and raise money from more local sources, and then build up the state and more national sources. The U.S. government sources, you're competing against people all across the country and people that already have a track record, so that's hard to crack from the outset. So you kind of work up to that. Some are easier to get into. You don't have to do lots of loans before you can apply to the SBA's microloan program. As long as you've done some, you can start out with a small amount of money, and then the more loans you make, the more loan capital you'll get from them, and the more loans you make, the more grant money they'll give you. And that's a good one because you don't have to reapply every year. As long as you meet the minimum number of loans, you're in, and you just have to report. But you don't have to do a new application every year. But other ones you often do. You can also do a little at a time. I mentioned Salt Lake City is one of the items on the slide. They were going to new kitchen for the kids, and some equipment one year, some more the next year, and until they got everything together they needed to get going. So it wasn't all at one time. So if you know, well, we don't have it, all we need right now, so we can't do it. You can also do a more incremental phase. A little bit of time until you're ready to get going. Use representatives on your boards and also the public sector folks for their connections. And who do they know that they have access to funds, and may know people who do, and kind of proceed from that. Use your allies at the beginning. Now look at some slides of some different, first of all, I've mentioned already, but it's the variety of things that they're doing, graphic spread across the country, and also they've done these and they succeeded. So something you do, it's not something anybody's ever done this. So here's a farmer's market in Lowell, Massachusetts. Members have also sponsored farmers markets. This is a small business one. This is a Spanish language bookstore in Pennsylvania. This is in Social Enterprise. One of our members in the far western part of Maryland is in the Appalachian area. They have several state parks there that are popular in the summer. In the winter, it's got a big ski resort. They wanted to build on that and get more people to come and to stay longer. So they're in an artificial rafting course, pumping lake from a nearby state park. And they actually have had World Kayaking Championships. There are people coming from countries all across the world to compete, and they can make the course different levels of difficulty so they can adapt it. And this employs some people who, some of them that work here also work in the ski lodge during the winter, and before they really didn't have much in the summer. They'd look around for something else, and now they basically have a full year's of employment when they put the skiing and the rafting together. So it's enabled to have a full-time livelihood instead of just part-time. And they've got a couple of schools, including the local community college, to offer certificate programs now, and so we're getting degrees. Here's an example in Virginia I mentioned where our member partnered with the state of Virginia in having just a usual welcome center. You pick up brochures. You come in here. They have crafts that are made in that part of the state. Explain how they make them. They sell them. You also find out what music is going on the week that you're there. A lot of activities around just by pushing some buttons on an interactive screen. And they have a restaurant and have a lot of different things going on there to help bring more people to that part of Virginia. This is an example in Oklahoma I had mentioned where they're managing cabins here on a lake. In the food sector, the member in southwestern Pennsylvania where agriculture is the main pillar of their economy, and so they're looking for ways to add value to the crops that are being grown there. So instead of stuff getting thrown out because it doesn't look quite good enough for the stores to buy, they take it and process it. So tomatoes get into spaghetti sauce, or cucumber made into pickles. There's a bunch of different things that they do. They then sell these items to local stores, to local restaurants. The Action Agency actually has a couple of stores of its own where they sell these items. They have a canning and bottling facility at their building, so others can come in and produce their final product. It makes it easier for them to do that. We use this van that you see here and several others to drive around every day of the week. During the warmer months, they sell at farmers markets in the southwestern part of the state. They're also looking at ways to encourage farmers to produce herbs and specialty crops that have a bigger profit margin, and they can sell to area restaurants, including in Pittsburgh, which is not that far away, and getting them to grow goats, sheep, and making some goat cheese that they then sell in different flavors, things that they really weren't doing before, but they do have more profits for them. This is that Southwestern Virginia helped develop, and there was a theater that's been there for many years, and a second stage, so they can have more than one show going on. This is popular theater. Everybody around the state of Virginia is aware of it, and if you go down that part of the state, you're likely to go. See what's playing there? Here's the wind turbines. Remember Washington State, they're right on the Pacific Ocean. Wind, they have 4 of their wind turbines that generates electricity, which is sold to the local utility company, and then they use that money program that they're operating. This is Indiana, the hydroponics. You can see them inside of a greenhouse. They're, again, growing herbs and vegetables. There's a market for, and then they then sell them to restaurants and supermarkets there in the Bloomington, Indiana area. The supermarket in Roanoke that I mentioned before. Sure, and mention this, some free technical assistance available to you, and they're in California. Cecilia is offering technical assistance to the Community Action Agency as part of a contract that they have with the Department of Community Services. And if you're getting CSVG funds, you're able to get this assistance. You're scheduling meetings and calls with anybody who's interested. You can see Glenn Sonata's email address. He's the one that's handling this element, so if you are interested, please send an email to Glenn, and he will get back to you to set up an appointment. But this is a good deal to get free technical assistance. That is something you're not able to get most of the time. I want to mention about our annual meeting that's coming up in Denver in late August. There's going to be 4 different workshops plus a tour that are related to community economic development. The tour is going to visit a couple of food-related economic development projects in the city of Denver. We have a complimentary workshop that's related to it, and so that if you can't go on the tour, or if you can and you want to see some more, you'll hear about some of our members, some of who we just saw in the pictures, talk about their projects. There is another one on energy as a community economic development strategy. There's one on the basics of community economic development, and then we have a housing-related one on how to use a low-income housing tax credit, and kind of where that is in the whole process, given the recent tax changes at the national level, and what the implications of this have been for the low-income housing tax credit. There are scholarships available. So the Wiseman scholarships is one for a board member and one for a staff member of a community action agency. You can apply for those. There's also a couple of achievement awards that we have available. So if you're interested, let us know here. You can send an email to me or anybody else on the staff, and also see this on our website, and we'll send you information. Notice that the due date is June 6th. We got about not quite a month. something I'd like to see if anybody has any questions about anything that we've gone over. Okay. If so, again, Q&A. Send the questions in to us. We did a question about expanding on social enterprise, which I think they may have done after that was admitted. If you want something, Marlene, if you want something more, send another note to us, and I'll be glad to reply to that. Okay, this question about, is there an issue with using a kitchen paid for by HHS and using it as a social enterprise? Assuming you must pay rent to the start program. I know that the group in Salt Lake City was able to use Head Start money to acquire equipment for the kitchen. Now, I don't know whether they were paying rent to the specific to the program. I have to ask the group in Salt Lake, but they were using the proceeds, I know, to go back into the parent community action agency, included the Head Start program. There were other things besides that. Okay, that Ralph Lippman from Secedis says that Secedis will be hosting a social enterprise convening in Oakland on June 13th, one in Los Angeles on June 18th. Another note, we had thought about a possible social enterprise with a weatherization program. Clients who are slightly above income eligibility, but one who says perhaps low cost weatherization. Any others community action agencies doing this? Yeah, I know of at least one example, the one where you saw the picture of the kayaking enterprise. They also have a social enterprise doing weatherization. So exactly what you're suggesting. They go out to people who don't meet the income eligibility requirements, but they have a need, and then they pay the service, and then the money that is paid to that social enterprise goes back into other programs. So there's at least one that does that. There's some other energy examples. You saw the turbines, group in Alaska sells heaters. There's a couple that are doing solar power, including one there in California. So there's a number of different energy-related options that you can look at. But yes, weatherization would be one. Any questions? At some point in the near future, either from CalCAPA or from me, you'll get a questionnaire, I think, about what you find most interesting, so that we can determine what to offer in November at the annual meeting based on what you find most interesting. The different options I laid out here today. And again, for anybody who came on late, we'll be sending out a recording and also a copy of the PowerPoint to everybody who had registered. So I have your email addresses, and we'll be doing that as available. don't see any other questions. If not, we appreciate everybody being on the call today. Hope this was helpful. I look forward to seeing all of you, most of you, in November in Sonoma at the conference. And wish you a happy afternoon.